you ready, people? We got the police here, the defense force here tonight. And you can join up anytime you want to join up, people. All you got to do is just do something this here and learn to march. First thing you got to do is learn to march. Mr. Drummer, could you give me something to march to? Come on, give me some, give me some, give me. Everybody do this. Come on, come on, come on. Woo! Who we talking about, people? The man that give you a hit. Hit it. Yeah. West Indian politician. Miss Barbados. Coming at you with a monster hit. Oops. Give it up all the mighty, Gabby. Woo!
Necessary to have so much soldiers in this small country. I can't hear you. Your song is good. But is it necessary to shine soldier put with taxpayers' money? How will you say? Well done, tell me, tell God, he put them in secrecy. Unemployment high, and the treasury low, and he buying books to cover soldiers. So I see them books and more books. On the feet of young, with a happy recruits, I see them books and more books. They marching, threatening army troops. Well, come and say, that's what that do. You got to see what me and you, and most of all the children. Stop them soldiers from marching. You see them in the left, right. The government goes, the government goes. 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 Was it necessary to hire them soldier jokers pushed out the fire? I said no. And was it right to give them weapons? The plane was unloaded to shoot Vincent Chance. No. Well, don't tell me, tell government, he sent them to fancy land, and in their hand, making a stand to quell a non-existent rebellion. We on them books and more books. I'll give it up young, with a happy ripples. I see them books and more books. They marching, threatening army troops. Well, come and say, what that do? You got to see of me and you, and most of all the children. Stop them soldiers from marching. You see them in the left, right. the government push, oh yes, left, right, the government push, the government push, left, right, the government push, the government push, left, right, government. Now we are voting to remain passive while that soldier army growing so massive. I say, no. And can we afford to feed that army when so many children naked and hungry?
No.
Well, don't tell me, my strong he giving them 4 square meals. Some of them so fat, they for hardly run, and they shooting bullseye with automatic, and bit on them. And you think of them, we got happy recruits, I see them boots. They marching, threatening army troops. Every time I say, that's what I do. You got to see, but me and you, and must have on all the children, and stop them soldiers from marching. With the left, right, oh yes, the government push, oh Lord, left, right, the government push, left, right, the government push, left, right, the government. Ow! Thank you. Happy crop over.
And a very good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101 on a Tuesday evening. Coming in tonight with the mighty Gabi, Mr. Anthony Carter, the cultural ambassador of Barbados. A big shout out to all our viewers joining us from Barbados. Gabi, the government boots, reminding us of a time of the militarization of the Caribbean. And that calypso was inspired by Barbados' decision to send troops in 1979 into Union Island. There was a rebellion there by the Rastafarians called the Union Island Rebellion. And of course, St. Vincent did not have an army. Still don't. And Tom Adams, then the Prime Minister of Barbados, sent troops to help to quell what Gabi's calling a non-existent rebellion. Is he who sent troops in Vinceland. Calypso always giving us a marker. 1979, the Union Island Rebellion in the Grenadines. Boots, and that Calypso has withstood the test of time. And that's when you know a good work of art. It's not something you sing today and you're done with it tomorrow. It has withstood the test of time. Over 40 years. Boots and more boots Welcome to all of you. Those of you joining us from Toronto, welcome, welcome, welcome. Those of you in Guyana, welcome, welcome. Hello to those of you in Linden. Good evening to all my friends on the East Bank of Demerara. My very special friend, Mr. Vibert White. Welcome, welcome to all of you. Tonight we're going to be joined by Mr. GHK Lall. Needs no introduction to you. He's a part owner of this program. And we are going to be talking about the topical issues. Thanks to all of you who reached out to me after last night's program. Of course, we tried to put in context what happened to the experience of Mr. Thom, who's back on the job, and we had to put it in context, you know, and we're going to be talking about that tonight with GHK. As I said last night, look, if somebody, those people had gone in there and Mr. Thom tell you they can't park, and they tell you about the black so-and-so, that's bad enough. But I think Mr. Thom would not have resigned because somebody tell you about the black so-and-so. We black people tell me every day about we black so-and-so. We got immune to that. So that's not the issue. And that's not racism. That's part of racism. It's prejudice, racial prejudice. But the story is when the body call somebody in government introducing the element of power. And from all indication, the minister representing the pinnacle of power in Guyana, in a sense, endorse the black so-and-so, what those two people tell Mr. Thom. That's why he resigned. And that's the racism. As I explained last night, difference is a good thing. But when you give difference meaning, you're moving from difference to prejudice. This skin color is different from a brown skin color or white skin color. And nothing is wrong with difference. But when you give this skin color a meaning, in the process, you're giving white skin color meaning and brown skin color meaning and red skin color meaning. You move into prejudice. And when you endorse that prejudice with power, that is what we are talking about in Guyana. Eh? The endorsement of racial prejudice with power. That's when you get to racism. As I always say on this program, I don't know if Mr. Jack Dew is a racist. I don't know. I don't know if Mr. Irfan Ali is a racist. I don't know. I don't know if the little boy, the Ministry there of Culture, sometimes I don't like call the name. I don't know if he's a racist. What I do know, and Mr. Thom experience again spells it out, is that these men hold institutional power, and they've used that power to discriminate against people of races other than their own race. And some of you will tell me, well, Jack Dio Carl and Mr. Thom and tell Mr. Thom, that's not who we are. The Jack Dio report the minister to the ERC? If that's not who they are, and the minister behaving that way, then the minister's misrepresenting who they are. Some people will say, well, knock off the minister. I really don't go there because, politicians, the behind got to be on fire. Power got to be good before they knock off any one of them. So I don't even bother to say he should resign. But if you want to prove that it's not all you all are, then report the man to the ERC. As if David Hines says so, you would report it and charge you under the Racial Hostility Act. Because you would have charged me if I did do that. I didn't even have to get power. All somebody got to do, he said that I was in a parking lot. They tell me don't park, and I tell them carry this so and so racial race and so on. That was enough to get me charged under the Cybercrime Act, the Racial Hostility Act, and they will report me to the RC. Report a little by Jack Dio. The fact that you didn't do that means that you have endorsed what he did. Make the story clear. Last night, Ravi Dev was on Freddie Kissoon's program. And I want you all to hear what was the title of the program. The title of the program was Ravi Dev explains in details how Africans in Guyana were empowered at the expense of Indians. Let me read you all the title of Ravi Dev's program with Freddie Kissoon last night. Ravi Dev explains in details how Africans in Guyana were empowered at the expense of Indians. That's not a joke. That was the title of the program. And Ravi Dev proceeded to explain how Burnham take away things from Indians and give it to Black people. But he ain't stopped there. He said, even after the taking away, Black man still there behind Indians. So all the things that Burnham give them, what they do with it, according to Ravi Dev, Black man don't look beyond the horizon. They live for today. So what Burnham give them, they smoke out, drink out, or whatever they do with it. Whereas the Indian who thing get take away, the wealth that Indian got today is because they look beyond the horizon. Black man look behind the horizon. Black man sport them a jump paling from the walk for going sport Friday night, according to Ravi Dev. I thank God that he gave me the wisdom to take up this race thing. They spend the whole program cussing out the group of us, Eric Phillips and all the Black activists. But they spend more time for me. I'm glad God gave me the wisdom. He said, David, take up this race thing because it's obvious that I am standing in the way of the racial autocracy that they want to set up in Guyana. Oh, Nigel Hughes is such a wonderful chap.
He hung out with David Hines and them, but now he's going into Indian areas trying to get Indian votes. He's doing the right thing. But when asked, can he win? No. Indian people will never forget that he said 34 is the majority of 31. They may encourage you to go in to be a good Negro. And then when asked, is this going in going to win anything? No. The PPP will win because they get the Indian vote, and Nigel will not live down 34. They want me to be a good Negro. They cost me because I said, I know the most difficult vote for the opposition to get is the Indian vote. And so if I were advising the opposition, I will tell them, spend most of your time bringing out more of your base. Ravi Dev and Freddie and all the Indians are saying the same thing. But when I say it, David Hines racist. He not like Nigel Hughes. Look, Nigel Hughes go Lenora Market. You go get any vote? No. Indian people go remember 34. They believe that we are jackasses, and that is what would get me crazy. I thank God. He give me the wisdom. You see, I come into politics as a Hatan Marxist. The working class shall triumph the dictatorship of the proletariat and multiracial and so on. Oh, they love me. Oh, they love me. Oh, they love me. You know the Quaker song we just sing? You know the Quaker song where we just sing? Woman a heavy load. Oh, when the money there. Oh, how they hug you so. Oh, how they love you so. Oh, look how you're nice so. But when the money done, Guanyo, anti-man, Ganyo, Beze man. Well, so, they love me when I'm a Marxist. But when they want to set up what they want to set up in Guyana, and I stand there as a barricade against it, oh, Jesus Christ, me the racist. I do not believe that African people are better than Indian people. I don't believe Indian people are better than black people. It would never enter my thought. That's not me upbringing. If I were the president of Guyana, that little boy, the gun from me cabinet, and I would have put him before the courts. That's me, David Hines. Who is the racist? But anyhow, we're going to deal with that issue in the coming week. We're going to deal with that issue in the coming week. So Burnham take away from Indians, give black man sport them out, drink them out. So you not got nothing today. So when David Hines and them say black man again nothing today, they're wrong, they're racist. Black man again nothing today because he sport them out and drink them out. After emancipation, black man take his money and buy land. He live for eat, according to them. He not eat for live. So he buy land, they buy land and plant cassava and edda and bora and okra for feed themselves instead of plant rice for export. That's why black man they were there, according to Sir Ravi Dev. You see, when the Nazis were setting up what they set up in Germany, they had the great intellectuals who justified what they were doing. Hitler didn't do what he do without the intellectual minds justifying what he's doing. When they set up apartheid in South Africa, they had the best white minds justify what they're doing. And what Ravi Dev and them are doing is they're justifying what the PPP is doing by saying, "Were you worrying about black people? Just go in the place there and give them $40,000 because the stupidity that they live for eat, they don't eat for live. And every time you give them a $40,000, they might light up and they might take them. And you go get them, they go vote for you. They are justifying that. And they're calling it crossover vote. But it comes from a view of black people that they're not full human beings in the sense that they don't act like normal human beings. Slavery mess up their mind. So they're stupid. And when David Hines called those who going in to say they're going for black people vote slave catcher, oh Jesus Christ, David Hines is a racist. Ravi, if you not kill me, and me and you in the Guyana, are you not take, I pass black people and subjugate black people without hearing from me? Put that in your pipe and smoke them. Me not go away. Me not care if black man vote for me. Because me not do it for vote. Do it for the dignity of human beings. So put that in your pipe and smoke. Me not go no way. You all will continue to hear from me. And you all black people, some of you licorice. Licorice. That's why people have take their eyes and pass at you. And you know better. But you licorice. Some of you, some, nah. It's a minority. Are you going to hear from me to become I go no way? I am not doing it for votes. I'm doing it for the dignity, dignity of human beings. In this case, human beings who belong to the same racial group that I am from. Good evening. I think you all are ready for my guest. No? So I am going to bring Mr. GHK Lall in. GHK, good evening, my brother.
Good evening to you. Good
I
evening,
hope
everyone.
I have not messed up your chances of being elected as president of Guyana because you hung out with David Hines, and David Hines said that they got passy before they go in and catch black man and carry them in as victims. I hope I have not messed up your chances, my brother.
Again, good evening to you, my brother, and good evening, everyone. The first thing you got, for you to mess up my chances, I got to raise my hand. And I think you did. I must call you out before the audience. I think you did earlier in your introduction, in the first few minutes of your introduction, when you anointed me a part owner of this program. So you don't duck me in the hot water there now. You tell me if you're calling me chances. The fact that I am on the program is enough of a inhibition or a mark against me.
Yes.
Oh, use one of them. You against me.
That's right.
But it's good to be here.
Well, I am very certain, I'm very certain, Gabriel, that some of those people in power, they're not culturally grounded. So they would not know, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are, right? So you don't have to worry, right? You don't have to worry. They will still say, based on your ethnicity, whatever you said today, you're still family, right? And they're going to try every way to get you to shut up. You see, the way these ethnic autocracies work, at a certain level, they go after the out group, the group that doesn't belong to them. But there's another way in which they're more vicious against people in the in group who talk out. You see, me auntie used to make one of the sweetest black pudding in Buxton. And she had a secret. Had a secret for make the black pudding taste nice. And a lady asked my sister Denise, "Oh, are you black pudding does it taste so nice?" And Denise go forgive all the secret. I mean, I put your mouth and said, if somebody else say that's my secret, it is not going to be believable. But you, my daughter, who gonna say this is the secret by make black pudding, they gonna believe you. Put it back inside. Gabriel, are you getting tired of every day, every week? Race is not, nobody likes race, talk about race, you know. As much as I talk about it, I prefer to be talking about other things rather than racial oppression. I really, honestly, and that will come as a surprise to people. Race is a difficult thing. You know, in the United States, where you spend some time, there is a race is an equalizer with black people and white people. It is white shame and no, black shame and
white guilt.
And white guilt, yes. And neither black people or white people don't like talk about it. And so, in a sense, it's a heavy burden to carry. But every day, every week, Melly Mel was last week. And then all of a sudden this week, Ivor Tom's story come. And my God, if we had any doubt, the Ivor Tom story really skin up this government and shows where it's taking this country. You know? Your thoughts?
Race, I agree with you, is not something that is delightful to talk about, but it's absolutely necessary that we do not shrink from talking about it, considering where we are, considering the experiences of the African Guyanese, the poor Indian Guyanese, the Amerindian Guyanese, and the mixed Guyanese. We're too small, 750, 780,000 people clustered closely together, with some spread out farther afield. We got to talk about race. We have to sit down as a family and face each other, look each other in the eye, and say, man, how we the going about this thing, we ain't going about it right. We going about it wrong. And we have to have the honesty in our soul to face where we are going wrong and to try to see how we can make it right. How we can make a start to doing right. You know, look, some of these things are not cliches. We are not taking that genuine first step to address the racial monster that hangs over our head. The racial beast that beats in our bosom. We are not taking a genuine first step. We talk about one Guyana coming from the heights of the presidency. And I've always said, one of who? One of whom? And here it is, Mr. Thom is being told, you is not the image. So what is this one image? It might be people who look like me. But then again, I gonna be, remember the the inner part that they look at extremely critically. The
Mm-hmm.
renegade Indian, the renegade Indian, the savage that
Mm-hmm.
they have to deal with on special terms so that there will be a lesson learned and messages sent. So we come to these things are poignant and they're hurtful. That we've got to spend week after week. And I know you've asked me to come some more time on this program, and I regret that. And I regret that I can't, and I regret that I can't do the same thing with others. But the little time that we have together, we must be honest enough with ourselves and our listeners, our viewership, to say we can't turn our faces away and pretend. We cannot avert the gaze, to use that word from Jim Crow time and before. We cannot avert the gaze and pretend that we do not have a racial problem in this country. We don't want that bliss. We do not, we should never want that ignorance, because then we will never progress and we'll always be where we are, at the mercy of the autocrats. At the mercy of the autocrats. And, I look at Melissa Atwell. Well, I read. I know who she is. As you know, I'm not on social media. I'm not on Facebook. So if you were to send me something, I can't open it. And Mr. Thom, a renowned sculptor. And if this can happen to him in his own domain in such scurrilous, derogatory terms, then what about the ordinary black man, the ordinary indigenous man, the ordinary Indian man? What kind of slurs would they be subject to, especially since it might be surmised that them in count for nothing? Somebody had to know Mr. Burroughs. They might know who he was as principal and administrator. They had to say, I think he represents something around it. So let me tread little gingerly. But instead, no, 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 no. So who you want me to talk about first? Atwell, Melly Mel, or Tom, or whatever?
Thumb.
Tom. Okay, as we are there.
As we're there, yes.
I let's take the sequence.
Yes.
The man carry out the garbage. I happen to know around there, but his face looks familiar to me. Let me say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we have met. The name is familiar, and I don't forget names. So I'm thinking if
I will tell you where you heard the name from.
tell me.
He's the person that did this, the monument to the seawall, the 1823
Yes.
monument.
Mhm. Yes. Yes.
And he was caught up in the middle when some of us were saying we want the black organization said we want it at parade ground.
Uh-huh.
And the government said no, we ain't putting it there, we put it in the seawall. And we were trying to get Mr. Thom to take a stand.
Mhm.
And he said clearly, I'm an artist. I'm not a politician. I am doing the monument. That is not my decision. Wait, go. I'm saying that to justify your point.
Yes.
This is not a black rabble rouser.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a black man who in the government face and saying you're racist every day. Far from that.
Mm-hmm.
And if he, as you're saying, can be the victim of that, then there must be 1,000 other people on that day who were victims of that same kind of thing, but who didn't have the stature
to be heard.
to be heard.
Yeah.
Continue,
So,
sir.
yes. The man defined himself. I'm an artist, first
Yes.
and foremost and only. And it is ironic that something like this could happen to him in his own space, his own backyard or front yard, whichever one you want. So he goes out, he takes this garbage, and he can't move his vehicle. He can't, and so he blows his horn or he protests, and the rest follow, as you must have discussed last night, and we've read in the papers. And you're black so and so, and I don't know if there are expletives and so on. But how does it come to that? How does it come to that? And almost, so they take his number plate, somebody come out, take a picture of your number plate, and before the internet could crank up the instantaneous communication, the man get a call from a senior government official, report to the ministry. The minister wants to see you. Well, I think he real. See, he goes there and the minister berates him.
Put you for sit down for 45 minutes.
45 minutes to wait. So we're going to put you to your place.
That's
We're going to show you who is in charge and who is boss. So there are all of these psychological ploys, pressures that are being placed on this man who a million things must have been going through his mind. I've been insulted. Now I'm going to be injured. I'm going to be further injured. And so said this thing about image, and the minister berates him and insults him, etc. And he goes home and he seems to be, to me, and especially now that you have contextualized him in the seawall / parade ground matter, this man thinks. This man doesn't respond to superficials. This man think and say, you know what? To preserve my own dignity, I got for cut ties. Interestingly, the minister done do we do, according to Mr. Tom. The vice president, our brother, by Bharat Jagdeo, put on his white hat, done his white suit, and climbed on his white horse. And he likes this John Wayne thing to run rad to the rescue. And he make a phone call. Hey man, yeah, whatever we said, I can put it in me words. You know, the boy a little young and he excitable and so on and so forth. But, you know, he really mean what he said. But I call him you. I do. He say it, but he doing damage control. He trying to smooth the waters. And so, stick around, man. We got some other things coming or whatever. And so Mr. Thom decided, look, in the interest of the students who were kind enough and committed enough to speak their minds, that I'm going to stay. Now, you said it earlier. We have to allow Mr. Thom that space to make his own decisions. This man operates independently. He didn't call the PNC and say, should I resign?
Right.
When he go with the what do you call it, the monument, he didn't listen to Yall, when I say Yall, you know, the opposition, and say, well, you know, as a black man and in the interest of solidarity, I think I'm going this way. He said, listen, this is me role, and that is the extent of my presence and my contribution. And you got to respect a man for that.
Yes.
So similarly, let us not read too much that he should have that about his willingness to be reinstated. Good. Here is where I have some hang-ups. The government further insults this man and the intelligence of every Guyanese, black, Indian, Amerindian, mixed, wherever, Chinese, white, by saying, and let us assure you that this abuser, allegedly, was not in any way, shape, or form related to the PPP government. No. Is a PNC man do that? Is a AFC man do that to Mr. Thom? Some homeless druggie from nowhere on the road come there and say, hey, I ain't moving out of your way, right? You're so and whatever else. No. If by process of elimination is not a PNC man, I am going to say that, or an AFC man, and a man or woman who got the clout, for this matter, forgot the director of culture and the minister of culture almost instantaneously. What kind of man is that, buddy? Dr. Hines? That is not no ordinary man. If, like you say, you can't pick up no phone and get somebody from the culture ministry. You can't get a clerk for say, hey man, something happened to me here and it really shouldn't have happened to a dog, right? But somebody take this man license plate, scan them to the thing, and in a minute or two or whatever, they come out and say, hey, report to the ministry. And then you're going to turn around and tell me and drop some patter urine on me by telling me that this man is related to the PPP in any way. Eh? Who could get the kind of clout? Now better you they shut your mouth, man. Now better you they shut your mouth and let this thing go along its way and let Brother Jack, they'll handle this thing he way. Now, one more thing I want to say. The minister, the youthful swagger. I ain't excusing what you do. Youthful arrogance, but there should be a price to that. If he doesn't have the self-respect and the honor to realize he has overstepped egregiously, and to resign, fall on his sword, as we used to say, then somebody needs to tell him, you see the door there? Don't make it knock you in the behind when you're going out, right? And that's the end of the matter. Now, you brought in this thing, these elements which I didn't think about a report to the Ethnic Relations Commission. I want to bring my own thing to it and say, well, Dr. Jagdeo, now that you've gone to this extent to reach out to Mr. Thom, how about having the minister, the Honorable Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, or whatever order that is, to make a public apology to Mr. Thom? How about that? As to show that you are genuinely contrite of heart, in terms of the excesses that you delivered in his direction and to his face. I think that would have been, a nice thing, a nice little ribbon on what went on. Look, none of we like to take bread out of a man's mouth, and not that his man is going to share the bread, right? But to make this thing believable and to set a bar
Yes.
on the other closet racists, the racist wannabe racists, the racists in waiting for their opportunity. So listen, we're going to make an example of you, boy, and you're going to go out there and you're going to apologize to this man publicly. I think that would have been a nice finishing touch. And we have extended the olive branch to him and asked him to come to stay as administrator. Good. Let me get her. Let me come full circle. Give an apology. Apologize to this man. And the man with a shilling or woman with a shilling who hollow up on the man, cuss out the man, they should haul him before the Ethnic Relations Commission. The Harlem thing where you talk about Racial Hostilities Act and so on, that has to come into play. And that person needs to be held feet to the fire and say, we don't tolerate these things. Now we just only talk about them. You see, there's the problem with the PPP government and the PPP leadership. They like to talk about these things and believe that them alone could talk and them alone could think, not think, right? And so therefore you must talk and think like them. The bottom line is this: talk is cheap. Show the actions for back up the talk. Them, the one in the yard, the one in the ministry, and including the director. Don't speak to people like that, right? Don't speak. They're looking for everything, every comma, every T that ain't crossed for people like me or you say. Apply a little bit of the same standard, not the full standard, to your own people, so that we can make a start in having the Guyana that we say we all aspire to, right? You talk about race. I would not like to talk about race. I want to talk about economics, and I want to talk about cricket. And I hear you like the cricket thing on a Sunday night. I didn't know you got that. Because I consider myself a little bit of a cricket historian, but that's another story. So here this thing. That's good that we can let our hair hang down. We can and talk about cricket and Manchester United and so on and so forth. But we got to talk about this race all the time because it ain't going away. It's hanging like a monkey on my back, like a shadow over my head. And we are going to be the biggest fools before ourselves if we pretend that this thing don't exist. And Mr. Thom's situation, circumstances, and the management of it, and the outcome of it reinforces at different levels damage control, condoning of insiders, and business as usual.
GHK Lall here tonight, weighing in on the Ivor Thumb matter. GHK, you know, it's no secret. Black people come up to me all the time and say terrible things about Indian people, use the C word and so on. And I would listen to them. And I will use my quote unquote influence to very quietly say, well, man, that's not how we can handle this thing. That's not how we can handle this thing. In many regards, those of us, what they call black leaders, we have to out fires every single day because we are dealing with a group of people who feel that they're under attack. And obviously, when you feel you're under attack, you look across to your neighbor and you feel that if you blame the government, you're going to get into trouble. So it's easy to say, it's them Indian people. And we leaders have to every day say to them, no, 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 no. And that is one of the problems I have with the Indian leadership in the PPP and outside of the PPP. They pretend as though we are the problem. Eric Phillips was able to put together hundreds of those kind of statements that Mr. Tom was subjected to by Indian people, poison black people, kill them. Eric Phillips would put them together and send them to the ERC, send them to the government. They haven't responded. And if a black person used the C word, as Rhonda Lane did, the hanger high, the different standards that we have in the country, that is what apartheid is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different standard. I would be lie if I sit here and say black people don't cuss Indian people stinking. But I am telling you in my personal capacity, and I know my brother and sister leaders, we dumb that thing down. And we have to. Because we have been the victims of violence for 400 years. Why would we want to encourage violence on other people? And I think it's one of the problems with the Indian leadership in the PPP, is that they have no sense of history. In many regards, they have no sense of equal humanity. And so therefore, they see the black person as a potential vote and a potential person who you can go in and give $40 and a $40,000 fried rice. They see them as that statistic rather than as if Jack Dio saw African people in humanistic terms, his action would have been different. If the young minister saw African people, I am not excusing the two people in the schoolyard who cussed Mr. Tom, I'm not. But I'm saying they are responding to something that they feel comfortable in the society doing. They're responding to that. I went to school with Indian people at Buxton. A lot of people don't realize it. At one time, a third of Buxton population were Indians. They used to call themselves Buxton Coolie. They live at thing. And so we went to school. And you wouldn't find an Indian cussing out black people like that. The fact that it is happening now is that people feel that they are protected by the powers that be to do that thing, to engage in that kind of language, because they feel they can get away with it. And I think that is the problem we face. And those two people who cuss out Mr. Tom get off scot-free. The minister who put the icing on the cake get off scot-free. Tomorrow, somebody else is going to do it. Because there's no collective sanction and there's no sanction by the institutions of the country. I mean, these things, you have to have deterrence. People have to be deterred from behaving like that. And if you don't deter people, then people are going to behave like that. And I think that's the sickness in our country. Generations of East Indians are going to be socialized, not knowing the true meaning of racism. Because in their head, any African who say, I love my race, any African who say, I am against this government for taking advantage, is a racist. And it's total ignorance. But the PPP is drumming that in Indian people's head. And it's a disservice. I would like to get that young minister and to do a one-on-one class with him and teach him what about race. I think he's ignorant about race and racism. And to all of them need to take crash courses in race and racism so that they can understand their actions. But anyhow, are we there, Panam? Are we there, Panam? Let's go to Miss Atwell.
Before we go to her, I think we owe the people this, and we owe the government this too. The people in the yard felt empowered.
Yes.
And they were further empowered by the string of events, the chronology that followed thereafter. And I think that Vice President Jagdeo, who came as the intervening and calming force, and he certainly has the authority to do what he did, really ought to have addressed that hole in the thing. We are not this kind of people. That's easy to say. Then show me beyond the reinstatement, the invitation to Mr. Thom, that look, this is the satisfaction you're going to get. These are the standards that we are about. Now, you said something else. I would love to see that. And then I would say, you've shown me a first ray, Mr. Jagdeo, of what it is to be a human being, of what it is to be a sincere leader. Give me the little string for hold on. So here's this other part now. You said that the conditioning. Let me take a step back, and I think I've shared this with the audience before and you, and I'm going to do it again, so I ask some indulgence here. You know what some people tell me? And they tell me steady, oh, you just there on the man program. I say, who? Like if I there on 10 programs. I say, you know what I'm about, David Hines. I say, what about him? So the man is a racist. I say, you know it is associated racist? You ever hear a racist word, a racial word from me? You think me parents who dead and gone would allow me for do that? Or I would allow my children for be about that? So now I gonna cross the river and involve myself, engage with racists? I said, man, I got to better go back and study the man history, right? When he was doing certain things against a black government, he was the darling. He was the darling of the people of Guyana. I said, today, are you singing a different song? It's not that I don't know. Are you playing or you don't know? I said, let me think. So now, let's go to the last thing I want to say before we come to Miss Atwell. You say the PPP Indians should come to a different place, and I agree. And education helps, David. But I think that this is something that has got to be in you. It's got to come from the cradle. I never heard I can stand up in front of this audience and say, hello, I never heard a racial slur in me house as a little boy. Never. Not once. And not say me father didn't get angry, or my mother or whatever. Never, never. Right? Next door neighbor black, next door neighbor Indian, no one's a Douglas, whatever. Poor neighborhood. But here this part. School, I end up in school in Agricola. 4th Street Agricola, St. Anne's Anglican, ABC Fenty. They used to call them Fenty School. One of a couple Indians in a school of black children, right? Hear this thing. From the age of 10, 9, 10, I had a woman named Miss Norma Perry, a black woman. One day I hear she tells somebody, she says, see, the spirit there upon him. Me know what the spirit there upon him mean. And he can go far. I think I know what that one mean. You know why I said I can't let down this woman. And I can't let down those people who are there for me. So here's the thing. Those who have had the exposure, those have begun the conditioning that puts them in this place today that they can turn around and say, hey man, they could turn to their fellow Indian or to their fellow black or their fellow Amerindian and say, no. You're going about this thing wrong and I can't associate with that. And you know, you will lose friends for that. And you will lose some comrades for that. Oh, you're too soft, you're too stupid, you get soft in the head and whatever. But if we are genuine, if we are authentic about these vital things in life that are expressive of our humanity, I don't need no damn theory and concept and classroom for tell me how I must live with you. Look at the things that the PPP have done to me in an effort to silence me. You know what I say? I cannot hate the people responsible for this. I could hate what they do because my belief system, and me no damn saint. Let me get it straight. Let me put that straight before everybody. I'm a little wicked man too, right? I like my fun, but me fun is destructive to me, not to nobody else. And that is, I don't know, once every blue moon. So hear me think. Aside from that confession, you got forgot these innate qualities in you that tell you that we are living in a polarized society. We're living in a plural society. And therefore, it is incumbent upon me to be a leader in what must not be and to be a leader in what must be in this race question, in this racial behavior attitude, this racial behavioral and this racial environment, this racial atmosphere. I must be a leader there. And by the way, we must not shrink from that, regardless of what the cost is. And that's, I think, before we go to the next issue on this thing, I think we should all try our best. We can get weak points, but we must be disciplined enough and focused enough to appreciate the environment and the challenges that are before us and to rise above them.
To rise above them. The Melissa Atwell story, coming on the heels. GHK, Dr. Bharti Ramcharan, again, not a loudmouth, not somebody who's known to be hostile to the PPP. He's a man, you got shades of autocracy. He didn't, and brother, Dr. Henry Jeffrey said Bharti was giving them a way out because he didn't even touch race.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about autocracy in its classical sense, its non-racial sense. Mm-hmm. Bharti knows about race problem in Guyana, but he's not that type.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that type. He's not going to go to race.
Mm-hmm.
But all people say read between the lines. And he's a man, shades of autocracy. They cuss you out. He this, he that. And then 1 week later, you send the police on 2 big women because the data does criticize you and talk out your secret. Well, she obviously does get it from inside there.
Mm.
You can't get a she because she's in the white man country. So you send police punch your mother and your grandmother. And the instructions evidently is to plant weed punch it. Not to plant gun, not to plant a gun punch it. Not to plant cocaine, to plant weed. Weed in itself got a racial face. And it just showed you the cynicism, the don't careness of this government. Just last week, an international scholar tell you shades of autocracy. Oh God, when you're giving the instruction for send them police, you will say, oh Jesus Christ. Borty just said, we is a autocracy. Oh God, we can't do it this way. No, Mr. Commissioner. Pull back. We can't do this. But the fact that they don't care is what makes it all house pan all house. All house pan all house. Your thoughts, Gabriel?
Well, Bertie gave them another out, if I may call him that, respected man. The president jumped on here and said, well, something but scholar. He suddenly deriding scholarship. A genuine scholar.
Yeah.
Not a man you got question mark about his scholarship, but let me put it that way. Good. The man in say autocracy, you know, the PVP backers like to get hung up on definitions
Yes.
and interpretations, right? They like to do things by the book. The man said shades of autocracy, shades, the beginnings, the emergence, the rays, the specks, right? So you got a lot of room there to say, hey, boy, we could pull this thing back, you know. We could nip this thing in the bud. You understand me? Like I said, I've heard the name.
Yes.
I've heard the name. Now, she there far away. But what you had was a naked expression that we got the power and we could deal with you. Now, here's the thing that where the government went that is alarming. I don't know if you know this, David, and I'm not going to get so presumptuous. Even the mafia got a code that say don't touch family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even the sinister and criminal, uber criminal mafia, Cosa Nostra, call them what you want. They don't touch family. We can deal with you. We can settle the difference with you. So, but we can't get to Melissa Atwell. So, we can deal with your grandmother and your mother. And so they send this thing, and now they say constitutional rights were this and that and the other, and they produce this search warrant, this thing signed by the magistrate. And the thing got some flaws in it, right? With the dates and all of that. But here's this. I wrote in Demerara ways. I said the cargot's good. Well, I didn't even look at the date. The cargot's there. But what does that say? What's the basis? Who called who? What intelligence this thing was based on? Human intelligence, electronic intelligence, a combination of the two, US intelligence. And what we talking about? Weed? We talking about cocaine here. You got 4 tons of cocaine down there. And other than for the US helping you with the down, none of you would ever hear about that. Right? So here's the story. Miss Atwell, you ponging our asses from over where they're in Brooklyn or New York or wherever, we gonna go in Eccles because we know where your Achilles heel there, and we gonna deal with you. And we are gonna send a message to people like you that our power is not limited. And the power that we got, we are not inhibited. We will not restrain ourselves from using it against people like you, whoever you are. So, no, I got to disagree with Brother Bertie here. That ain't sound like shades of autocracy to me. That sound like full out autocracy, you know, with a little modification here and there that, hey, listen, bud, listen, we can do. We got everything in we hand, and we could commandeer the police and the courts and line them up and victimize you and criminalize you. And if we can't criminalize you, we are going to criminalize your people. No, it raises the specter of something else, Dr. David, that is frightening. The plant.
Plant.
The plant. Let me shift a little bit from Miss Atwell's grandmother and mother and Eccles. Who else they want silence? Well, we know some candidates, right? Two of them they here, and they got others. What lengths will the government not go to put something on in your car, to drop something in your garbage bin, to get somebody for say, well, you know, David Hines was inciting racial something some way. You know, GHK Lall did saying something about who thief money, and he was pretty adamant about it. And I don't know where the man get, but you see what I'm saying? The government got a lot of power, it got a lot of money, it got a lot of willing soldiers, foot soldiers, and intellectual authors and executioners. So where else will it not go to extrapolate, to deduce from the Melissa Atwell grandmother and mother development? Now, with that in mind, I ask the audience to think about the reach of an autocratic government, whether it's absolute or modified for the time being. The reach and the willingness of this autocratic PPP government to get even with those who do not buy into its script, with those who exposes its underbelly, with those who lay bare its skullduggeries, with those who speak out against its leadership rot. Here, them things ain't easy for people to take, especially when they know that they don't have any credible defense. So what they do, they lash out and they decide we are going to tear you down, however and with whatever it takes. And that is autocracy in action. And sorry, Dr. Borty, don't tell me about shades. You got the theory of autocracy, you got the reality of autocracy, and them are we who they hey know but it. Ask them two lady in Eccles, ask me, and ask some other guy in these.
GHK Lall. Kramchan Sital. We don't engage in that kind of language that you are engaging in the comment section, and I have blocked you. We don't engage in that kind of language here. Those kinds of comments. Take it somewhere else, not here. And so I've blocked you, and I am going to seek a permanent ban of you from this program. Gloria Pod, I mistakenly block you. The cursor slipped down. My apologies. I will reinstate you. I mistakenly block you. Gabriel, constitutional reform. Rafram Quran said it's not going to happen before elections. We should deal with the powers of the president and deal with governance issues, and don't bother with all that long story about constitutional reform. Where do you stand on that?
But you know, when we talk about constitution and we talk about reform in this country, and we put those two words together, constitutional reform, I think we got an oxymoron. I think we got a contradiction in terms down there, right? Because I hear Mr. Ramkaran, respected former Speaker of the House and political presence in this country, a man I met once for about 10 minutes. And presidential powers, governance inclusive, and so on. I think those are priority issues. But here's this. April the 3rd, the Constitutional Reform Commission was sworn in. And from the time I looked at it and I wrote about it, I said this deck stuck. The deck stuck. You got 20 members, and when you look there at the government numerical edge, it started out slightly, it looked like 5-4 and that ever. But when you add in some of the surrounding cast, you realize that the government has a easy majority. So when you go with constitutional reform there, that's my first thought. The second thought on that constitutional reform body, you got people who should be behind bars. How the hell you can tell me about make this is not cynicism anymore. This is pragmatism, brother. You talking about constitutional reform. What are we gonna get out of that with people like that? Right? How serious are you with something as important as mandatory as constitutional reform that we've all been talking about in and out of government when you got certain people this thing? And when you stuck the deck from the beginning, we talk about human rights and Amerindian rights and people's rights and gender rights and media rights and all of that. Love, good, 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 good. One thing we can say about this government, it has developed, it has developed a sophistication with words. And sometimes when you get too over sophisticated, you know what happens? You're behind on the show. Your bottom does be exposed because you're so focused on the frills, right? That you lose, you don't have any substance anymore. You don't represent nothing. Constitutional reform is good, and oh, we put it together and we actually made it happen and rolled out. But it's what in this thing? I am hearing Ralph Ramkaran. I heard Desmond Thomas. I heard Mr. Sherwood Lowe. I think they all mean well. I think they all have. My thing is like, listen, we got this oil patrimony, David. People sit down and watching who get in, the haves, the super haves, and the super have nots. And that thing can't continue for long. That is a catalyst for problems. So unless we start talking about sharing the wealth, about inclusivity, about respect, Mr. Thom, Miss Atwell's people, unless we start talking about respect and to cultivate reciprocal respect in terms of race, in terms of participation in the national patrimony, constitutional reform is dead. We are going to have, when we start talking about reform, we've got to have some form of different governance structure in this country. And in so far as that, I am with Mr. Ramkaran 100%. Presidential powers, nobody lego into, but I hear him. I happen to endorse what he's saying. But the thing, constitutional reform is not something that we go to every other month or every other year. So when it comes up, we're going to have to make the best out of it. I, for one, I'm trying to be patient here and how must I say, optimistic. And some people say, let's give this thing a chance. Let's see what is going to come out in the end. I am not hopeful. But I hear saner heads and wiser heads prevail, and I'm saying, okay, we're going to do that. But the thing for me, the linchpin of all of this, inclusive governance. Let me tell you where that is going. Inclusive governance means that I look upon you as a respected participant in managing this country. And if I'm looking that you have a seat at the table, and if you are a respected participant and you have a place at the table, then that cascades down from that level into the parking yard, into the marketplace, into the village place. It's not going to happen overnight and automatically, but there is going to be that change because it's a follow the leader thing, right? That these people are partners. We are partners. You are and I am. And therefore we belong. And so I think, therefore, that inclusive governance is that imperative plank that needs to be pursued first and foremost and above all other things. That's the gist of, I think, from there, constitutional reform flows. And the other aspect of it that are so stagnated and so constipated will get some sort of relief and release to move to the other areas that are like we get shut up, we can't move. You understand me? So if we could talk about inclusive governance and it's really meaningful, it's deep, and it gives us something more to go on than the other areas where we are stonewalled or we stonewall ourselves. We we are gonna make some strides in those. So I think that's where we start. The presidential powers, yes, but if you don't have that inclusive governance, that thing, we're at this time in our economy, in this time of our existence, in this time of our history, that we don't bring about that. We don't work for that. We don't sacrifice for that. We don't nurture that. I think that we constitutional reform is a moot issue.
Smooth issue. GHK Lall here tonight. A mouthful as usual and very insightful. GHK, as we wind down, your closing thoughts.
This country is in a hard place.
Mhm.
I don't want to say it's in a bad place. It's in a hard place. But we have it within us if we are serious, and if we are seriously committed, my brother, to bring about some of the changes, to make a start, to try to have a different Guyana. Oil has changed everything because there's so much money in it. Money that bauxite and sugar and gold doesn't come near to. There's so much money in it, and we have so much of it. I'm looking at the developments in Lebanon and Iran on one side, and the US on one, and the Chinese and the Russians are kind of floating around there. And I'm saying, if this thing really flares into a regional conflict, what happens with the global economy and what happens to oil prices? And of course, we're an oil producing nation now, and all those calculations and scenarios that we've done are right. And our economy is so driven by oil related underpinnings. Now, elections are, what is it, 12 months, 9 to 14 months away, whenever it is. I think we look at the Thom story, Mr. Thom and Miss Atwell's family story. How do the people who are feeling the brunt of government's wrath, of government's intrusion, how do they sit back complacently and think of 5 more years of this? I think based on the developments, and when a man like who looks like me talks about shades of autocracy, or I say it's more than shades of autocracy given experiences in the environment and what has happened recently, then we better come to our senses and say, look, we are going down the wrong road, and we need to retrieve ourselves before it's too late. What I'd like to share with our listeners, our viewership, is that each one of us have a role to play. You, Brother David, myself, and we have to be responsible because we have a country in our hands. We speak for a lot of people. We represent the hopes of the hopeless, or those who still have some hope. And so, therefore, we must care this responsibility and deal with it in a dignified manner. And we must not allow ourselves to be dragged into the gutter. We must keep fighting for what we believe is right, what we know is right, and what actually is right. The elections are coming up, and already I'm seeing some of the storms brewing, and I'm seeing some of the ugliness creeping to the fore. I think we're in for a torrid that time, and I think we need to be at our tightest discipline to manage ourselves so that if inclusive governance does not come out of constitutional reform, then it's got to come out of our elections conditions. And with that, I'm done for tonight.
GHK Lall, thank you so much. What a way to end tonight's program. And as usual, it's always my pleasure to have you on this program and to share your insights. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, and God bless everyone. Goodbye.
GHK Lall there, as usual, saying it as he sees it. I'll be back tomorrow night for another edition of Politics 101. Stay well. I know those of you in Guyana, the CPL is on tomorrow night. I hope we continue the winning streak. Those of you who are going to head up there in the East Bank, be careful. Those of you going to take it in from the confines of your home, here's hoping that the team will continue to make us proud. See you all tomorrow night, rain or shine.